In September of 1937, two commercial fishermen working the Mississippi River near Alton, Illinois, kept finding their bait traps torn apart. Something in the water was destroying them, something big, and it kept coming back for more, night after night, hitting the same stretch of river. So they rebuilt the traps with heavy wire, baited them with chicken guts, and waited. The next morning, they hauled the trap up out of the brown water and found the thing that had been wrecking their gear. It was a shark, a dead bull shark, caught in a fish trap in the middle of Illinois, more than 1,000 miles up the river from the sea. That is not supposed to be possible. Sharks are ocean animals. For almost every shark alive, saltwater is the system keeping their bodies running, and drop one of them into a freshwater river, and it will die as its own body chemistry comes apart. A great white cannot do what that animal in the trap did. Nothing in the shark family is supposed to be able to swim up the largest river in North America, past the barges and the river towns and the cornfields, and turn up alive 1,000 miles inland. And yet, there it was, dead in a trap near Alton, Illinois, in 1937. This is not a story about a monster that appeared out of nowhere. It is a story about the one shark that breaks the single rule the rest of them obey. An animal built to leave the sea entirely and come inland into the warm, murky water where people actually swim, turning up much farther from the ocean than almost anyone believes. Because that fish in the trap was not a freak, and it was not the last. In 1995, another bull shark was found nearly 900 miles up the river, pulled dead from the intake grate of a power station in Festus, Missouri, drawn in against the screens the same way the rest of the river's debris ends up there. Nobody caught it in the act of swimming up. Nobody watched it make the journey. It simply appeared, dead, at a spot on the map where a shark is not supposed to be able to reach, and left everyone to work backward from the body. Two catches, decades apart, both impossibly far inland. For a long time, they sat in the record as curiosities, until in 2021, two scientists went back through decades of scattered reports and catches and confirmed what those two fish suggested, that bull sharks have made it more than 1,000 miles up the Mississippi from the Gulf of Mexico, and that is just the one river everyone knows. On the Potomac, within sight of Washington, bull sharks turn up essentially every year. After Hurricane Katrina, they were seen through Lake Pontchartrain. In the rivers of Louisiana, fishermen report catching young ones well inland as a matter of routine. The animal that is not supposed to be there keeps turning up there in river after river, and it has been doing it for as long as anyone has been paying attention. To understand how, you have to understand the animal, and it is worth being precise, because this is one specific shark and not sharks in general. Carcharhinus leucas, the bull shark. It gets the name from its build and its temperament. A thick, heavy body, a short, blunt snout, small eyes, and a reputation for aggression that is not exaggerated. Depending on which study you read, the bull shark sits in the top 3 most dangerous sharks in the world to humans, alongside the great white and the tiger shark. A big female runs up to about 11 feet, males a bit smaller, with the largest on record around 13 feet and weights into the hundreds of pounds. It is a genuine apex predator that will eat more or less anything it can catch, including other sharks. And it is the most famous large shark on Earth, built to leave the ocean behind. Here is the machinery that makes it possible, because it is the whole key to the story. Every shark faces the same chemical problem. A shark's body is full of salt, and in the ocean that is fine, but in fresh water, the difference in salt between the shark and the water around it makes the animal absorb water uncontrollably until its cells fail. It is the same reason you cannot drink from a river forever and survive in the sea. The bull shark solved this. Its kidneys, liver, gills, and a specialized gland near the tail work together to constantly manage the salt in its body. In the ocean, it holds salt in. In fresh water, it dumps the excess and recycles what it needs. It can slide from the salt of the open Gulf into the fresh water of a river and back again, and its body simply retunes itself on the way. Biologists call an animal that can do this euryhaline, and among large sharks, the bull shark is close to a solo act. It is one of the very few big sharks that does not just tolerate fresh water, but genuinely thrives in it. Most of its relatives are locked out of the entire freshwater world by their own biology. The bull shark carries the key to a door the rest of them can never open, and it has spent millions of years walking through it. And it doesn't just visit. It uses these rivers to raise its young. Adult females travel inland to give birth in the brackish and freshwater of river mouths and estuaries, and the pups stay there in the shallows, growing, using that low salt water as a nursery before they move out into the sea. Which means a lot of the sharks in these rivers are not lost adults that took a wrong turn. They are juveniles, using the river the way the species has used it for a very long time, in warm, shallow water that a lot of people think of as perfectly safe. A newborn bull shark is already about 2 feet long, and already a predator, already carrying the instincts and the equipment of the animal it will become. The river is not an accident for this animal. For part of its life, the river is home. How far can it push? Farther than the Mississippi, it turns out, and this is where the range stops being a curiosity and starts telling you something. In South America, bull sharks have been documented more than 2,000 miles up the Amazon, deep into Peru. They live in Lake Nicaragua, a landlocked freshwater lake, in such steady numbers that people once thought they were a separate species. They range up the Ganges and the Zambezi. And when a golf course near Brisbane, Australia flooded in the 1990s, the water left 6 bull sharks stranded in the course's lake. They did not die. They lived in that suburban pond for the better part of 17 years, reached full size there, and the club eventually gave up fighting it and made the sharks its mascot. Sharks, alive and hunting, in a lake next to a parking lot, miles from the sea. Every one of those places has the same thing in common: warm, shallow water, close to where people live. That is the pattern. That is the animal. It does not push inland into the cold, empty, faraway places. It pushes inland into exactly the kind of water where a person might wade in on a summer afternoon. Which brings the story back to the trap near Alton, and to the honest question anyone should ask, because this is exactly where most of the internet lies to you. If sharks are swimming 1,000 miles up the Mississippi, why is the river not full of them? Why have you never heard of one taking a swimmer in St. Louis? The answer is that the extreme cases are genuinely rare, and anyone telling you the Mississippi is teeming with sharks is selling you a fantasy. In almost a century, there are only 2 hard confirmed records of a bull shark that far up the Mississippi, the 1937 fish and the 1995 one. Bull shark populations are not booming. They are declining, listed as vulnerable, thinned out by decades of culling and fishing, and the river itself fights them. The dams and the locks and the sheer distance are real barriers, and there has never been a confirmed bull shark attack anywhere in the Mississippi. The scientists who confirmed the 1,000-mile journeys are careful about it. They say in almost these words that they can tell you what happened and when and where, but not how the sharks got past the barriers, and not why they went. The far upstream sightings could be a genuinely new behavior, or a sign the species is slowly adapting, or simply rare flukes. The honest answer is they do not yet know. So the truth sits in between, and it is more unsettling than either the panic or the dismissal. The 1,000-mile cases are rare, but the everyday reality, the part that actually touches people, is that bull sharks are common far up the warm coastal rivers and estuaries and lakes of the Gulf and the Atlantic, much farther and much more often than the average person swimming in that water would ever guess. 20, 50, 100 miles up a coastal river is not exotic for this animal. It is ordinary. It is a Tuesday, and the danger was never really the shark 1,000 miles up the Mississippi. It is subtler than that, and it comes from a thing people have exactly backwards. Everyone pictures the shark threat as the great white out past the breakers in clear blue ocean, the thing you can see coming, the fin cutting the surface in the distance. But the great white mostly wants nothing to do with you, and it stays in the salt. The shark most likely to actually be sharing your water is the bull shark, and it lives in the warm, murky, shallow, low-visibility water of river mouths and estuaries, and the brackish end of lakes, the exact water where people wade and swim and cannot see their own feet. There is no fin in the distance. There is no clear blue water. There is just the brown river, and whatever is moving through it that you cannot see. It is not the shark in the postcard. It is the shark in the water nobody thinks to be afraid of. So the science does not claim the rivers of America are filling up with sharks. It claims something narrower and stranger. That one shark, alone among the big ones, broke the oldest rule its kind has. The rule that says a shark belongs to the sea and carries the machinery to move inland up almost any warm river it likes, to hunt there and to raise its young there. That it has been recorded more than 1,000 miles from saltwater, in the middle of a continent, more than once. That it turns up in the Potomac beside the capital nearly every year, in a suburban golf course pond, and in the rivers where children swim in the summer. And that the people who study it, when you press them on how it slips 1,000 miles inland, past every barrier, and why it bothers, will tell you honestly that they cannot fully explain it. So it ends where it began, with a wire trap coming up out of the brown Mississippi water near Alton, Illinois in 1937, and a shark in it that had no business being there, 1,000 miles from the nearest wave. The two fishermen had spent days trying to figure out what was strong enough to keep tearing their traps apart, some animal they could not see and could not name, and the answer, when they finally hauled it into the daylight, was a thing the textbook said could not be where they were standing. It could. It does. And somewhere in the warm, slow water at the bottom of this country, far from any coastline, in a river or a lake that everyone assumes is safe, it still moves through the dark of it, quietly. The one shark that never agreed to stay in the sea.